Critical Role Recap Season 2, Episode 32. So this week, we found the Mighty Nein having completed their missions with the gentleman, returned to Zadash, and then they spent a couple weeks shopping, basically. Not much happened last week. It was pretty much just them shopping. They got up to some of their usual antics, and then they started on their way down to the Menagerie Coast this week. So this week was mostly just them traveling. We did have a bit of combat this episode, unlike last episode. They ended up fighting two giant Ettins, which two-headed giants, basically. Tried to ambush them on the road, but Caduceus kind of talked his way out of it briefly, and then they managed to shake off the enchantments that were cast on them and chase them down. The fight went very smoothly, in fact, too smoothly. Caleb is the only person that even got hit, and he just got hit once. And I mean, it was a decent hit, but that was it. Other than that, they basically just trashed these two Ettins and went on their merry way. They spent a little bit more time pondering over the dodecahedron that they picked up from the Crick assassin, and Caleb learned a little bit more about it during the time that he spent focusing on it over those 2 weeks, which Matt kind of brought them back to because he forgot to tell them. And it seems like the blackness that they're in, the kind of space, like the empty black space that they're in, is actually not empty black space, but is in fact like millions, billions of individual black threads that are all kind of heading their own direction. Basically, the general idea is it seems to be this is an area where the threads of fate are intertwining. That's what it seems to me. No one's really sure what exactly it does and what the Kryn are using it for. Taliesin was rolling really well. He rolled like a natural 20 perception check, actually multiple times, I think, while traveling, and he was the one leading the horses. And he ended up finding a little cache of about 500 gold worth of rubies and emeralds that were stashed away on the side of the road due to the really high perception check. And then they made their way into Allfield and stopped off briefly, spoke with Bryce, and just kind of got the rundown of how the city repairs were going since the Knoll incursion that they had helped to fight off. So we got like a little taste of kind of back to the first few episodes. After spending a night in Allfield, they got back on the road and made their way to Trostenwald. And in Trostenwald, if you remember, that is where the circus, Molly's circus, had been, and the bizarre giant frog dude was singing songs that were turning people into undead creatures. And they got into a little bit of trouble with the law, where the law was kind of blaming them because they were the new people. The leader of that circus had been put in prison until he could pay off his debt of like 2,600 gold or something. And he was working it off while in prison. He had been there for about 3 months. And the Mighty Nein came in and basically just paid off his debt. They ended up spending 1,500 gold to free him. There was this odd moment where Caduceus, once again, rolled a very high insight check and had some whispers from Matt, the DM. And Caduceus then confronted the imprisoned circus leader and said basically that he's using prison to hide from his real problems, and he's not really paying his dues. He's not really making up for the things that he did wrong. He was very evasive about that, about what Caduceus was saying, and then when they released him, he basically just kind of went off on his own way. So they spent 1,500 gold for possibly nothing. But they did let him out of jail and told him about Molly's death and spent the last bit of Molly's gold freeing him, which was only like 165 gold that was left of his, apparently. So then they spent the night in Trostenwald and they left the next morning. It's during this leg of the journey that they end up coming upon the Ettins, which I mentioned earlier, that they handle very easily. And then they continue on their way to Nicodranus, to the Menagerie Coast, and specifically to the city of Nicodranus. As they're nearing the end of the episode and getting closer to the city, they come upon a traveling merchant who is selling live animals as pets. And so the ladies do a bit of shopping, and they end up picking up a crimson weasel, an owl, and a blink puppy, which a blink dog, it is in puppy form, and it teleports. So all of the ADHD wonder of a puppy, but with the capability of teleporting. They've already tried to start a pool for betting on which animal is going to be killed or lost first, and things do not look great for the animal friends. Jester and Bo are the ones that bought them. They spent 140 gold, so 70 gold each. And they haven't exactly been the most responsible people in the world. And then they continued on their way and made it to Nicodranus. And coming into the city for the first time, like right on the outskirts of it, was where we ended this episode. Next week will not be a normal Critical Role episode because a few of them are going off somewhere. I forget where. Liam is going to do a one-shot next week instead of doing the normal Critical Role episodes. So I won't be putting out a video because I'm only doing the actual campaign itself. But there will be a Critical Role show on this next Thursday, but it won't be the standard campaign. It's gonna be a one-shot led by Liam with Travis, Laura, and Taliesin, plus a couple of guests coming along. And Liam teased that it would be about werewolves, which Travis was very excited about. But yeah, that's about all I have to say for now. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.